Hey everyone, Sumo Spiffy here. It's time to break down some Banzuke. The Banzuke for Kyushu 2023 has been freshly released, so we can go over it, see what makes sense, see what's weird, see what's really weird, and see where they were drinking. Now, on the left, we've got my guesses for Guess the Banzuke, if I had entered, which I didn't, don't ask. And on the right, we've got the actual Banzuke. The guesses I got correct are in white. The ones where I had the right rank number but missed on East or West are in yellow, and the ones where I was off by one number rank are in orange. 2 or more would be in red, but we didn't have any of those this time. Hooray! Let's start at the top. We've got the Sanyaku, and this is pretty easy. Terunofuji. He stays at Yokozuna. Takakeisho and Kirishima flip-flop because of their records, but Hoshoryu stays at number 2 because he was behind both of them. Daisho had 10 wins, Wakamoto Haru 9, and Kotonowaka also 9, so they all stay at Sekiwake in the same order. Then we get to the Komusubi, where we have Abi, who is Abi. I mean, Komusubi and High Maegashira are just kind of where he hangs out. And Hokuto Fuji, I mean, thumbs up, hooray. We like to see Hokuto Fuji succeed. I am a little concerned for him because this is a dude who ran through all 3 Ozeki on the first 3 days of September and still only finished 8 and 7. That's a fantastic start, but not really the outcome you want with that kind of start. And now he's in a position where if he struggles, he's less likely to get easier competition because he's in the Sanyaku and he's expected to test guys who are doing well, even if he's not. So this might be a rough one for our Hokuto hero, but we wish him all the best. Now, Asaniyama, Maegashira 1, this was expected. Ura, Maegashira 1 West, this was expected. Absolutely fine, although we are still a little worried for our Pinky Boy, but I got into that last time and I'm not going to do it again. Shodai is just going to keep hanging out from Maegashira 2 to like Maegashira 4 for the rest of his career. Meisei is probably just going to bounce between 2 and 3 and 1 maybe. This is just what they do. This is just where they are. Tobizaru, he's kind of in his happy place at the back end of the guys who are going to fight a lot of Sanyaku. Like, he does well enough that he can succeed. Even if he doesn't have a winning record this time, he drops just far enough down that he can do really well next time. So this is fine for him. Well, now let's get into the ones where we got him wrong and see why we got him wrong. So Takayasu and Ganoyama, this was always a flip-flop. So remember, Shodai, Takayasu, and Ganoyama were mathematically tied, so they could theoretically go in any order. The Banzuke committee has been favoring winning records, but Shodai needed to go up to Maegashira 2 in order to just get a rank of promotion. He couldn't really go behind Takayasu and Ganoyama very easily, so they just pushed him ahead. Now, I figured because Ganoyama had more of a joy-ish schedule, I thought that might push him ahead of Takayasu. I was wrong, but this is one where I took a guess, I was wrong, but both of them make sense. So there's nothing wrong with this, and this is actually good for Ganoyama. At Maegashira 4 East, with 8 active Sanyaku, because we're assuming Terunofuji doesn't fight, he actually is the top Maegashira who doesn't get dragged in against Sanyaku opponents immediately. So he is slower to start getting Sanyaku opponents, which means if he's doing well, he'll get a bunch of them, and that's fine. But if he's doing poorly, he'll get fewer. So this works out pretty well for him. It's probably in his best interest to only go up to 4 rather than 3, since he's still figuring out exactly how to do battle with guys at the absolute upper echelon. Now, Nishikigi got saved. Now, look at this. Onosho, my guess was that Onosho was going to be at 4 West. So basically, I had Nishikigi and Onosho flip-flopped, which, whatever, right? Except Onosho was only getting 1.5 ranks on 9 and 6, which is a hell of an under-promotion, but there really wasn't anything else you could do with him. But then they decided that Nishikigi needed to get 1/2 rank less of a demotion for reasons. That's it. It's just reasons. There's nothing really to explain it. This whole year, they haven't shown a particular predilection for saving guys coming out of the Sanyaku very much. There's really no reason to do this for him. He went 5 and 10. He didn't look great. Onosho deserves a little bit more than this. Why they made this decision is baffling. This is also not a situation like with Takayasu and Ganoyama where, ooh, Nishikigi and Onosho, well, because they flip-flop, now Nishikigi is way more likely to get Sanyaku opponents, so this might be better for Onosho's competitiveness. It is a little more likely, but it's going to have a lot to do with injuries more than anything. Their particular performances are going to have an impact, but that's always the case. So this is just weird. This doesn't make a lot of sense, and I'm not sure why they did that. But it is what it is. Nishikigi got slightly saved. Onosho got pretty big screwed. 4 West, 5 East. Midori Fuji pretty much slots in exactly where expected at 5 West. And then we move to fun part number 1. And when I say fun part number 1, it's really the fun part of this whole thing. The bit with Tsurugisho further down is mostly my own interest of quote-unquote fun. But this is wild what they did here. So if you watch my Guess the Banzuke video, one thing I said was that with Tsurugisho, Tomokaze, and Ichi Yamamoto, so these 3 guys here, I guess Tsurugisho would be behind them. He ended up in front. Okay, that's fine. I said there was a non-zero possibility he would end up in the middle, and the way that would happen would be if the committee couldn't decide whether to put him in front or behind, so they compromised and put him in the middle, even though that made the least sense out of anything. Well, that's kind of what happened here. Hokuseiho, Shonen no Umi, and Takanosho. Hokuseiho was 10-5, right? So he's 10-5, and he mathematically goes to Maegashira 6 West. Shonen no Umi, 7-8, and he also Maegashira 6 West. Takanosho, 6-9, at the highest rank of any of them, at 4 East, and he mathematically is Maegashira 7 East. So he's behind them. He is mathematically behind them. Now, they have a few times this year pushed one guy who was a half rank behind mathematically ahead of another because the guy getting pushed ahead was in the Joy and the other one wasn't. So pushing Takanosho ahead of Hokuseiho is actually not that weird, except how many Sanyaku opponents did these guys have? Well, Takanosho had several, but Hokuseiho had 1. He fought Hoshoryu on day 15 because he was having such a good tournament, right? And Shonen no Umi, you know how many he fought? 0. He fought 0. He fought 0 Sanyaku opponents. So why, for the love of God, did Shonen no Umi get to go ahead of Takanosho, but then Takanosho goes ahead of Hokuseiho? This makes 0 sense. This is the drunken decision. This is the one that they saved for the end of the process when they were all completely shit-faced. And we're like, I don't care anymore. Let's throw some darts. This is inexplicable. It's a small thing. Like, I thought Hokuseiho was going to be at Maegashira 6 East because I thought they would be less drunk. But one rank when they're not even in the Joy or close enough to it to really get dragged up there, even if there's a few injuries, it's not a huge deal. But it's also bizarre. It's the kind of decision that makes you wonder if maybe they do some of this stuff just so you can't predict how any of this is going to turn out in its completeness. Like, why? There's no logic working here at all. Bless Shonen no Umi's heart. He seems like a good guy. I like how he fights. Hokuseiho, maybe they're just mad at Hokuseiho. Maybe they've been so disappointed by him, and oh boy, working on this review of his fights, I can understand it. But maybe they've just been so disappointed by this guy that they're like, you know what? Any excuse we have to bump you down slightly more, yeah, we're going to take it. We're going to make you earn this because you're so boring, because you make us sit there so much longer than we need to for anybody else. Why do you do this to us, Hokuseiho? Why? I'm not projecting at all. I don't understand it. I'm pretty sure nobody got this right, but it is what it is. Kinbozan is just at the tail end of this. He gets bumped over to 7 West because there really wasn't an option. Initially, I thought he and Takanosho, because they were tied, they were both at Maegashira 7 East by the math. I thought Kinbozan would get the advantage. Takanosho did. Whatever, that's not a huge deal. But yeah, the Shonen Omi Takanosho Hokuseiho thing is completely mind-blowing, and I don't understand it. From there, it actually sorts out nicely again. Endo, Atami Fuji. I am very happy that they put Atami Fuji where I thought they were going to put him. Hooray! There was not really much in the way of Banzuke stress. Like, they could just put these guys where it made sense to put them. Myogiryu, Mitakeumi, yeah, like this. It was very straightforward from here. Sadano Umi, Hirata Umi, Oho, these all worked out pretty much the way they were supposed to. Tamawashi and Takara Fuji. This was just a slip on my part. This is the only thing here that I got wrong that I'm like, I probably should have gotten that right. Because Takara Fuji, they're going to bump him down 1 full rank, and then Tamawashi gets saved slightly more on a 2-13 record. That plays in way better with the kind of decisions they make normally. I got messed up by the fact that they've been doing things so much differently this whole year than they ever did in the past. I overthought it. Tamawashi further up at Maegashira 12 West makes way more sense than Takara Fuji being there. So that was my bad. Flip-flop them, not a big deal. Now, like I was saying earlier, my example for them making compromises that don't make sense were these 3 guys, Tsurugisho, Tomokaze, and Ichi Yamamoto. They gave the Juryo guys no bonus. They didn't say, hey, Tomokaze, Ichi Yamamoto, you did so much better than Tohakuryu and Churno Umi and Roga that we're going to bump you slightly further ahead of them, which was kind of what I thought the logic was going to be, or what the logic could be. They didn't. They just crammed them all together. Tsurugisho bumps up even further, so +3 on an 8-7 record. Good for him. He's been doing pretty well. I think he deserves a little bit of a bonus. And this works out nicely enough. No big deal. Banzuke committee does what they do. Then Tohakuryu, Churno Umi, Roga, and Nishiki Fuji all end up exactly in the order that makes the most sense. But then, whoa, Kitano Waka. He got promoted off of 8 and 7 at Juryo 2 East. I cannot explain to you how unusual it is for guys to get promoted out of Juryo when mathematically they're supposed to stay in Juryo, and there's a reasonable argument for a guy who is already in Makuuchi to stay in Makuuchi. Mathematically, Aoyama did not end up that far behind Kitano Waka. Not to mention, look, on the initial guess, Nishiki Fuji -3 at 5 and 10, Aoyama -3 at 5 and 10. It was right there. It was right there. Why wouldn't they bump Nishiki Fuji, Aoyama, and then Kota Shoho the exact same number of ranks down with the same record in the same part of the Banzuke? That blows my mind that they decided to let Kitano Waka come up, unless they're thinking, look, Aoyama is on the downslope, and they really shouldn't think this way. Let's be clear about this. This is not fair if this is why they're making the decision. But if they're thinking Aoyama's on the downslope, Kitano Waka, he's shown enough, maybe he should get a shot at the top division. We don't need to make him earn it through yet one more tournament in Juryo. We want to see how he does in the upper division. Like, I guess that could be a reason, but just by the numbers and by history and by the fact that if you look at what they did with Tsurugisho and these guys, they clearly are not that inclined to give Juryo guys any real favors. Why did they bump Kitano Waka up? I don't know. Aoyama is not that good anymore. Like, he's kind of fun to watch sometimes. It's fun to watch him when he's on a roll and he's winning a bunch of fights, because it's like, how is he doing it? He can barely move. But I really hope that Kitano Waka shows that their faith in him is justified. I hope he doesn't fall apart and just get clapped back down to Juryo and waste everybody's time. Because frankly, even when Aoyama is a little hard to watch, I'd rather see him than just really what is nameless Juryo scrub number 47 to those who don't really watch that division, just get smacked up and sent back down, and then we start the rotation over again. And that's the Banzuke breakdown for Kyushu 2023. Let me know what you think in the comments about how this whole thing turned out, what you think is going to happen now that we see where everybody's ranks are, and we have an approximate idea of what their opposition is going to look like in the next Basho. Other than that, I will see you all pretty soon, as soon as I can. It's a very busy semester, but I am going to come back with some videos before the Basho. Have a great day, and I'll see you soon.